Greetings, wargamers. Alan Emmerich here from Victory Point Games. And today, I wanted to take you on a flyby tour of the air system in Frank Chadwick's ETO series. Sort of a comprehensive look, top to bottom, playing out a turn with air units conducting different missions. So, put on that leather helmet and grab your bomber jacket, because we're going to take a high altitude look at the air system in Frank Chadwick's ETO. All right, here you see the air status display mat over the map board. And the important thing to remember in Frank Chadwick's ETO is that air units do not live on the map. They live on the air mat and only visit the mat when they are, or visit the map when they are conducting missions, you know, intercepting, dropping bombs, whatever airplanes want to do. Now each turn, and this is the German turn in spring of '42, you begin your turn by conducting the air recovery step, and this being a clear weather turn, that's good for the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, because all of their air units will mend. And the way that works is each air unit that is not damaged rises from the flown box to the available box, where it can be used for a mission this turn. Planes that were damaged flip over to their undamaged side, where they can operate next turn. And if you have suppressed airplanes, and here the Axis have two, one on the yellow Romanian fighter and one on the gray Hungarian unit, each turn, when you remove suppressions, you can remove half, rounded up. And so in this case, the Axis will remove that suppression. Notice that that Hungarian bomber is still wounded. It's still, you know, damaged. So next turn it'll repair, and then maybe next turn it'll go back up to available. Being damaged and suppressed means you're going to be out of the action for a while. That's for sure. And that's what you do during the air recovery step. You end the air recovery step during clement weather, during clear weather turns, for example, with your opponent being allowed to rush recover air units. And what that means is that your opponent can spend fuel points to raise units from the flown box and make them available to use during your turn. So let's see what the Soviets have over here. They probably have, oh, you know, they have a bomber with a red lightning bolt. And that can fly defensive air support. Notice how no other Soviet airplanes have got red lightning bolts except this rather poor excuse for an airplane, the Soviet Su-2. Why it is a poor excuse is because it has an 8-ball for a strength, which is bad. That means it's vulnerable. And it has an S in the lower right-hand corner for its range, which means short range, or in ETO terms, 6 hexes. Still, I think that's worth putting up for potential defensive air support. We're probably going to want a couple of fighters as well. So that's 3 air units being raised up. What we will do with those 3 air units is spend 3 Soviet fuel points to cover the costs. And the Soviets have 10 plus 4 and 1/2. So they have 14 and 1/2 fuel points. They just spent 3. 1, 2, 3. They now have 10, 11 and a half fuel points remaining. And boy, I'll tell you, the Air Force is a fuel vampire. Don't let anyone tell you different, because that's what they do. All right. Now that the airplanes have recovered, it is, we proceed apace, the reserve, or the special movement phase. It goes logistics, which is when the airplanes recover, then special movement, which is basically when your mechanized unit and your leg units not in enemy zones of control can move before combat, followed by regular movement, which is when all your units move, regardless of their situation. And during special movement is when you place your air missions. So I have already done the special movement for the German, for the Axis forces here. And I have left markers to remind myself where I want to fly air missions. That's these little blue markers here. And I'm going to fly a few different air missions for you. You can see the odds lined up for battles that I've set up for attacks. The Germans have a headquarters in offensive mode, which gives them a bonus odd shift in each attack. And let's fly the air missions and see how that works then, shall we? For this ground attack, we want to fly a close air support mission. And what that means, and I'm going to grab these three guys and fly them over here for this battle. What that means is that we want to convert their lightning bolts, which is their close support strength, into potential combat shifts. When you do close air support, each lightning bolt will roll a die, a close support die, in addition to your regular D6 to get the result. And if the close support die, which are custom dice, come up odd shift, then before you apply the result, you will shift the odds in your favor. That is their mission for the Ju-88 and the Ju-87, which throws two red lightning bolts. Red lightning bolts are a little better than white lightning bolts in that red lightning bolts can be used defensively. They can conduct defensive air support. And red lightning bolts are also a face on the close air support dice, which you'll see in a minute. And if you roll a red lightning bolt, you will get a shift, but only if you have a red lightning bolt supporting that battle. And the Stukas are just like the best because they have two red lightning bolts. They're disadvantaged with an 8-ball for their strength in the upper left corner, meaning they're vulnerable. And of course, they have an S or short range. The Ju-88s, on the other hand, are much tougher. For their combat strength, instead of having a blank in their upper left-hand corner, which would be better than an 8-ball, an 8-ball is a -1, a blank is a 0. These guys have a shield in their upper left corner, meaning they are tough. And when you shoot at them, they are, have a defense strength of 1 instead of a -1, like the Ju-88, which helps the attacker. The shield helps the defender. They have a white lightning bolt and a solid bomb symbol in the upper right-hand corner, meaning they can do both close support, close-in bombing, and the little bomb symbol in the upper right corner means they can do high-level level bombing. And the M for their range is medium. Just so you know, short range, 6 hexes in Frank Chadwick's ETO. Medium range is 12 hexes. Most airplanes are medium or short range. All right, and to escort these guys, we're flying this BF 109F, which has a 3 air strength, supported by a shield. So it attacks with a 3, but you can think of it as defending with a 4 because the shield means +1 in defense, and it too has a short range. The range is traced from an air base, which is a friendly city hex, not in an enemy zone of control. And right now, Bryansk is a very happening place as far as a German air base goes, and everything is within air range of that. So they're flying literally to this hex, but rather than stacking everybody up and making a pig's breakfast of this, I'm going to set them off to the side so that we can see things a little more clearly here. Come on, you guys. Straighten up and fly right. Okay, and so these guys are on close air support for that ground battle. All right, over here, you see the little kaboom symbol, and what that means is we're going to fly an interdiction mission. If we succeed in the interdiction mission, that unit loses its special movement phase and will be half strength in its ensuing combat phase. So basically, you're trying to take that unit out of the equation for your opponent's turn by bombing it during your turn. And for that mission, we are flying another Ju-88, supported by the Romanian Air Force. What's the Romanian Air Force got here? Well, let's see if we can look at this. There we go, a JRS-79. Now the Ju-88 you've seen before with the shield. It's tough. It's got the one lightning bolt and a solid bomb and medium range. The Romanian Air Force JRS-79, I think, is a licensed airplane from the Italians. You'll notice that it's not tough, but at least it's not vulnerable, so it doesn't add or subtract anything to the defense. It has a white lightning bolt, which is what we're using in this battle to strike the Soviet Cav mech group. It's got medium range, but it only has half a bomb. That bomb symbol that's half white and half black means it only has half a bomb. So it has to take advantage of the short-range double strength. And if it flies less than half range, and a medium range flies 12, so if it flies less than half, or 5 hexes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can double its strength so that half a bomb could become a 1 bomb. But we're using the lightning bolt on this particular raid anyway, so it really doesn't matter. We have a total of 2 making a ground support attack, and we brought some fighters along to escort them in case the Soviets do anything frisky as well. And this fighter isn't as good. This is the BF-109E. It's only got a 3 strength without the toughness that the 109F has. So, but that's okay, because in this group we net out at +1 in defense total. Here you add all the lightning bolts and shields together. So in this battle up here with the ground support, you would see that you'd have a strength of 3 attacking. But when the Soviets come and intercept you, your strength is 3 +1 for that shield, plus another for that shield, and -1. So these two cancel out. So the defense strength would be 4. Here the defense strength is also 4, 3 +1 for the shield on the Ju-88. So when the Russians come intercepting, that too has a 4 defense strength. Down here, we're making an airdrop. Yes, we've salvaged our paratroop. We're going to try and make an airdrop on this massive stack of Soviets over here. To do that, we're going to fly both our transport planes, and you can tell they're transport planes. They got this little parachute symbol on them. The HE-111s have got to do a lot of duty on the Russian front, both attacking, level bombing, tactical bombing, and conducting air transport. And this time they're conducting air transport. Each can carry an airborne unit, of which the Axis have exactly 1. So, and here he is. We're going to take him along for the ride. So this is an airdrop mission. So why would I fly 2 transports if it only takes 1 to carry the paratroop? Well, the thing is, if the Russians come intercepting, oh, and by the way, we also have a fighter escort helping here too. If the Russians come intercepting, they might blow away the transports and hurt the paratroops in the process. By having 2 transports, if the Russians only disrupt or destroy 1, the other one gets through, and the airborne does drop. So that's kind of a neat mission. In addition, we're doing to an airdrop on this hex. We're also doing a close air support battle. And here we're going to throw down another Axis hammer. We call this the hammer because in this air support battle, we have 1, 2, 3 lightning bolts. And that is the most you can roll. So we have a hammer up here with 3 lightning bolts and a hammer down here with 3 lightning bolts. And an escort. And then down here, we're going to try an airfield suppression mission. We're going to try and attack from our air base to the Russian air base. And to do that, we're going to use a night bomber. Now, if you look at the DO-17, it's got no air strength helping or hindering its defense, so it's a 0. It's got 1 lightning bolt if you fly it in the daytime. But at night, you'll see it has half a bomb behind a full moon. Well, not a full moon. It's a crescent moon. What am I talking about? But that half a bomb symbol means that if it flies short range, and it's flying 5 hexes from the Axis air base, so it's less than half range of a 12 hex medium bomber. It gets double strength. So it's half a bomb at night becomes a full bomb at night. So it's bombing with essentially 1 point of strength at night. It cannot have an escort when flying at night. But then it's very hard to intercept these guys at night because the Soviets have no night fighters. So it's probably going to be just fine taking its little cheap shot all by itself at night. All right, after the Germans' special movement phase, where they move all their ground units and deploy all their airplanes, it is the reaction phase. And this is when the Soviet Air Force would come out and play. Let's grab the Soviet air units and put them over here and see what we want to do with them. Come on, boys. There we go. Now, what do we want to do with the Soviet Air Force? That is the question. My, look what you find here on the Russian front. Well, we have exactly one good fighter unit, and that is the P-40 Lend-Lease models with a 3 strength. Our other decent fighter units are 2 with a shield. Here's a 2 without a shield and a 2 with an 8-ball. So the fighters kind of deteriorate. And our 1 defensive air support plane also has a meatball. Yikes. So we have to decide who we want to intercept, who we want to give some grief to. And I am thinking that we will send our good fighter, our second best fighter, and our fighter bomber. We're going to do a mission. Well, you know what? Do the Germans have any airplanes left to intercept us? Let's look at the air display. And it says that there are no more German air units available. Well, for the purposes of this example, we need a German air unit available. So we're going to have the 110s, the German 110s, handy to help us with this example. Because we're going to fly a defensive air support mission, probably down here where everything is mission critical, at this hex. So this hex, the Soviet Air Force is going to fly. So you can only have 1 airplane help you with escorts. So this guy is going to fly close air support and try and help them out over here. There is his escort. And these guys are going to do some intercepting. We will take this 3 and this 2. We will leave him home. He can just take it easy right now. Air units. Let's put him back here. He's not flying right now. These 2 guys are going to combine. They have a combined strength of 5. And I think they're going to try to upset the air transport mission. Let's see if we can do anything to disrupt the air transport mission. So these 2 chaps are flying together. They are intercepting. All right. And now the BF-110 says, oh yeah, I get a chance to counter-intercept any defensive air missions you fly. So on the air display, the BF-110 comes out to play, and we'll have them intercept these blokes. Intercept. Boom. All right. Now it's the combat phase. And you will see the fruits of all of the aerial and ground labors harmonizing. Let's start with the easy missions that are not ground support. And that would include this interdiction mission. How do we do interdiction? Well, interdiction is not too tough. You count up the number of bombs you're throwing at the unit, and in this case we've got 2 lightning bolts, so that is a count of 2. And you multiply it by the softness or hardness of the target. A large ground unit is a hard target, and you would multiply your attack strength by 1. A medium unit, which this is a medium target, so you multiply your strength by 2, and this is 2 lightning bolts times 2 for the size of the unit, gives you a 4. Okay? Had it been a small target like this cavalry unit, you get times 3, and then we'd be rolling with a 6 value. Okay, right now we have a value of 4 against this guy. 2 lightning bolts versus a medium unit. If we roll a 1 through 4, he is hit and will be interdicted next turn. So we need a die roll. And drum roll. We rolled a 5. That missed. Okay, that's not so good. So these guys fly home undamaged to the air unit display. And they have now flown. So they go back to the flown box. They have flown their mission, and they are flown. All right, down here, bombing the air base. That's another standalone kind of mission. Here we have 1 hitting an airfield. Now, an airfield is a soft target, so you're at ×3. So this 1 bomb, because we're flying a night mission, ×3 for the airbase gives us a strength of 3. The Soviets have flak markers, and they're going to use one. What the flak marker does is automatically damage 1 incoming plane. So he's going to be hit right there on his way in, and there's not a darn thing he can do about it. Flak just puts attrition on your air forces like that. We'll put that back. And now we have 1 × 3 is 3. And let's roll a die and see what we get. 1. Okay, that means we hit. On a 1, 2, or 3, we get to place that many suppression markers on the Soviet Air Force. And the Soviet player decides where they're going to go. So the Soviet player would take a gander at their Air Force and say, oh no, not another suppressed marker, and probably put it on this unit here. It's their choice. If you get hit with multiple suppressed markers, you could place them as you desire with the proviso that you do not hit the same model twice in a row. So, you know, if your best unit, say in the Battle of Britain, were Spitfires, you have 3 Spitfires and 1 Hurricane, or actually, you know, 3 Hurricanes and a Spitfire, who knows? You can't hit all your Hurricanes before your Spitfire gets hit. You can hit the 1 Hurricane, but the second one's got to be a different model if possible, and that would hit your Spitfire. The third one can go back and hit a Hurricane. Just, that's pretty easy how you work that out. But Soviets, or the Axis, are happy they got that, and this airplane flies home with damage. Now, over here in the big battle, the odds calculation was a 4-to-1, which included a shift from the attacking headquarters, less a shift from the defense, so the shift's canceled. The straight odds with all these attacking guys, including this monstrosity German Panzer Army, which is 2 Panzer Corps combined. The total strength gets them to 4-to-1. But first we have to see if the airborne is going to make its drop. And we're going to look at all of these airplanes over here. The interceptors come screaming out first. And the interceptors have a strength of 5. 2 for this guy and 3 for him. So that's a total strength of 5. The Axis have 0 modifier, and a 3 with the shield. Gives them a defense when they're attacked of 4. So 5 to 4 is a +1. On the air combat results table, a +1 is this. And let's see what this attack is going to yield. 6. Ooh, great roll. +1 is a K. Now that's a kill. Now the defender applies the losses however they want, and at this point they have to choose a mission aircraft first, and among those they have to choose one that is vulnerable over one that isn't. Now neither of these are vulnerable, they're both the same, but they're going to go into the destroyed box, boom, here, and flip. When you're in the destroyed box, you have to spend a fuel to limp up to this box flipped. So that really hurts the Germans. That's going to make them pay to get that guy out of hock. So that was a good roll. Excellent rolling. However, one transport did make it unscathed with the paratroop, so it's going to drop this paratroop unit into the battle, and he will flip to his airdrop side. Woohoo! And this transport is unscathed. He's going to fly home and say, they missed me. This air unit now can counterattack the interceptors. That's what escorts do. Besides lowering the attacker's odds when they bounce the bombers, they get to shoot back. And they have an interesting decision to make. They have an attack strength of 3. The shield doesn't matter when you're attacking. The defenders over here have a strength of 3 and a strength of 2. Now, if the Axis decide to attack them both, they would be rolling on the -2 column, 3 versus 5. And that's a pretty lousy column. But when you counterattack intercepting fighters, you can pick and choose which one you want to go for. And right now, the Axis are going to pick the weak little 2 and roll on the +1 column and hope to repay the Russians with a kill result of their own. So he flies home. He gets away. Boom. And this guy is now in his sights. And the result is a +1 battle. The die roll is 5. DA. Okay, well, there was only one target, so you can't apply 2 results. 2 results would happen if there were 2 targets, but there are not. You apply, well, it doesn't matter which one you apply first. D means disrupted or damaged, and so we flip him over. He's going to be damaged, and it'll take that much longer to repair and get back into the game. With the D, if you are a mission aircraft, you press on and carry out your mission. He's not a mission aircraft. He is an interceptor. So when you abort, you take the damage, and you go home before you get to drop your bombs or anything. He's not dropping any bombs, so he's just going to limp home. And this German fighter will join him. So that was a pretty hairy battle. The net result is, one Soviet fighter is flown, damaged in the flown box, and a German bomber, one of their precious HE-111 units, is damaged in the destroyed box. So that was a pretty hairy battle. However, the paratroop made it through. Excellent. Now, before we can resolve that battle, the Soviets are flying defensive air support that has been intercepted by the Germans. The Germans are flying offensive air support, and it is not being intercepted. So we don't have to worry about that fighter. He won't be necessary. But over here, we've got an air battle just like we had before. The Axis have a strength of 2 attacking. Note that the vulnerable has no effect because this unit is not defending right now. It is attacking. So a 2 attack versus a 1-2 for its strength, +1 for the shield is 3, -1 for the vulnerable 8-ball icon. So the 2 stays a 2. The shield and the 8-ball cancel out. So right now the strength is 2 to 2. That's a roll on the 0 column. So let's take a roll on the 0 column and see what happens. All right. The die roll is, boom, 1. The Axis miss. Wow, wow, wow. But the Soviets lived and can shoot back. They have a strength of 2 for their fighter, -2, but they get a bonus of 1 because this is vulnerable. Now this guy is defending. Essentially, he's got a strength of 1. So 2 versus 1 is a +1 counterattack. And the Soviets line up those Me-110s in their sights and roll a 2. And they get it damaged, barely. So, he's damaged. So this guy goes home damaged. This guy just goes home. And this guy is going to pitch in his bombs along with these guys. So, both sides are contributing lightning bolts. Now, the way that works in a battle, you need to see who has more lightning bolts than the other player. And the Axis have a 2 lightning bolt superiority. Essentially, these guys are going to cancel each other's lightning bolts out. So the Germans have a net 2 lightning bolts. What they are going to do is they are going to attack on the 4-to-1 odds column. Ground CRT. There we go. The Axis have a 4-to-1 attack. The 2 factors from the paratroop didn't make a difference. and they are going to throw 2 extra support dice. They had 3, but one got canceled out by the Soviets, so now they have 2 support dice from the Ju-87. So they're going to roll a 4-to-1 with 2 support dice. And the result is, all right, a 4-to-1 3 is going to shift once. That's an automatic shift at 1 this way to a 5-to-1. And the red lightning bolt symbol means if there are red lightning bolt symbols in the supporting group, and there are, Ju-87, red lightning, gives you another shift. So this 4-to-1 becomes a 6-to-1 3. And that is tough news for the Axis. Now, just so you see some of the other faces on the dice, before I apply the 6-to-1 3, some of the other faces on the dice could include the armor symbol, which means if the attacker included any heavy units, which is true in this case, they would get an odd shift for that die. What are other results here? Let's see. Oh, and the airplane symbol. The airplane symbol means if you had an airplane contributing its strength, you would get the odd shift, but the plane would be flipped. It would be damaged in the process. So that's ground anti-aircraft that would be affecting things. And of course, there's the infamous blank face, which means no air support at all from that. So those are some of the different things you might see. But right now, our 4-to-1 is a 5-to-1, 6-to-1, 3. 6-to-1, 3 is a DL. That means the defender loses 1 step and is retreated 2 hexes by the attacker. So let's get our airplanes home. He flies home, laughing all the way. The Soviets make it back. This bomber is good. Okay, and we did that. So now, let's see. The Soviets are going to lose a step. Well, they're going to get rid of their airborne corps. That guy's a goner. And now they have to retreat 2 hexes. That means it's going to destroy their little trench. Any combat result that's bad instantly destroys your little field fortifications. And if these 2 guys retreat 2 hexes by the attacker, I think the attacker is going to want to place them here. They can't place them overstacked in this hex. So, and they have to stick together. So they're going to go back here. Yeah. And because they had to retreat through an enemy zone of control, for each hex of enemy zone of control you retreat through, that is a hex adjacent to a medium or large unit, small units do not have zones of control, you have to lose an additional step. And here I think the Axis will keep their shock army intact, and they will lose that. Oh, wait a minute. I believe in this result, TL. It's the attacker's choice which units are going to die. So, what the Soviets will lose is determined by the Axis player, and the Axis player would probably flip that guy first, and then probably eliminate him and reduce him down to what we call a mystery meat unit. So, his second step would be to put him back in the Soviet force pool, and they would get a random generic infantry corps in its place and have to build that up. So that would be the Soviets' 2-step losses as they retreat. Yikes. That was a heavy blow. Good rolling. Now, with this 2-factor marker, normally 1 unit can advance after combat. But with an airborne marker, you have an advantage in that you get to have a breakthrough advance after combat. And that means you can advance in a full stack of units. Let's go with this full stack. And a full stack is 3 units, 1 of each size. And that's what we've got here. 1 large, 1 medium, and 1 small. This guy is a marker right now, so he's stack free. And afterwards, you can move your motorized units, the ones with the white movement allowances, an additional hex. So we will move these guys a second hex of advance into here and have a thumping great force ready to go. Not bad, Dad. Not bad at all. Okay. Here we just have a regular old 3-to-2 battle, and no air support, no nothing fancy there. Let's just do a quick die roll and see what happens. 3-to-2, 2, is no effect. So no harm, no foul. Nothing bad happens. Nobody's reduced, nobody retreats. Okay. And now this 4-1 has got air support. And the way that's going to work is no fighter battles, so the fighter can go home. The close air support, now this is a full hammer, as we call it. This is 3 lightning bolts. So they're going to roll 1 die with 3 support dice help. At 4-1 odds against the Soviet 12th Army, here we go. Boom. Okay, well, this 4-1 has, because there's tanks in the battle, 5-1, 6-1, and there's the red lightning bolts, 7-1. It's a good thing the Axis brought the right toys to the party, because if this was just an infantry battle, they wouldn't have gotten any ships, you know, except for the red lightning bolt from the Stukas. So the good thing they brought what they needed to. That is a 7-1-2, and that is another DL result. That is going to cost the Soviets. So the DL is a loss, and then they retreat 2 hexes, where the Soviet player wants them to go, which will probably be up here with that fort. And they're still out of supply, of course. So now the Soviets can advance 1 unit in there. And I think they'll advance that tank. And these guys fly home. All right. Well, now you've seen how air units and some of the different missions work in the game. Helping you is the other news on the air combat table. This is actually a player aid, and it's a good reference for the different kinds of missions, ground support, interdiction, airfields. Everything is listed here and summarized, basically because we're lazy and we hate looking up rules. So if you can stick it on a player aid, much better to have it on a player aid. And that makes the air unit, the air system nice and manageable. All right, that is an overview of the air